Hey, I'm so glad you're here today. Before we get into this episode, I just want to say this one is full of great little reminders. Charlotte's story is about what it looks like to finally stop waiting, to trust yourself even when you're not totally sure where it's all leading. There's something really tender and brave about the way she talks about choosing to begin anyway. As I was listening back to this episode, there were so many moments that felt familiar to my own story. So, wherever this finds you, I hope it meets you in just the right way. I want to thank you so much for being here, for taking the time to listen to the Naked Podcast. It honestly means so much. If there's something in the episode that has moved you, share it with someone who might need to hear it too. And if you haven't already, give us a follow and leave a review. It helps so much to keep the momentum and keep the show growing. For more conversations, reflections, and ways to stay connected, check out the link in the show notes. Until next time. If you would like to connect with us or possibly share your story, please contact us at nakedwithjanelle@gmail.com. That's nakedwithjanelle@gmail.com. Thanks so much. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm so good. How are you?
Good. Sorry I'm late.
No
It
worries.
just took so long for my kettle to boil in a very ironic way. Just standing there staring at it too. Like, I just need this to come to a boil.
It's all good. Your drinks are the most important part, I feel like. It's just nice to have your nice cozy drink, especially on a day like today where it's snowing yet again.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I wasn't expecting this when I opened the blinds this morning. I was like, okay. Precipitation's good no matter what, but still, yeah.
Winter is back strong, it feels like.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
It's crazy. So what are you drinking? Tell me all about your drink.
I'm having a coffee.
Nice.
I just some Kicking Horse Three Sisters blend,
Love
like an Alberta classic, and I make it in an AeroPress because I only ever make like one, maybe 2 cups for myself in the morning, and I like an AeroPress. I like it because you can take it camping and everything like that as well.
Totally. My husband's the same way. He's like, honestly, it's such a better coffee as well. Like it's so good. Why not? And it kind of just limits you from just constantly just pouring it in, right? Like you just
exactly. Because that's what I would be like. I think if I had a drip, is I would just always be drinking it. And also the coffee tastes so much better through this. Like it's like lighter and more flavorful. I don't know. It's good.
Why not?
Yeah.
It's like so much more intentional. You're like, I'm intentionally making a cup of coffee. I will drink it. I won't forget it on the counter.
This exactly.
Is like,
yeah, exactly.
No,
what are you having?
I'm drinking a Rooibos vanilla latte. Basically, I just found this tea that I love lately. It's like I haven't had Rooibos in a long time. Then I found it, and it's like got a nice vanilla undertone to it. And so I just did that with my own little latte mix. I was like,
that sounds lovely.
It felt right for today. So it's good. But thank you so much thank you for being here. But I was thinking about just our conversation and the many conversations I have around the world and meeting people. But this is the first time I have had somebody on a podcast that I've gone to and had an incredible dinner and had a really amazing interaction with the lovely human that was serving our table and bringing us delicious food. So this was a first for me to like, my gosh, like we met at a restaurant. It was such a great, like the food was so good, but just how you, I don't know, just took care of us. It just felt like, oh, like she's just an amazing human.
Thank you. I really enjoyed doing it. That's great. Thank you.
No, some people just, I don't know, just have a way about them and you just do it. And it just felt like you should pull up a chair and join us.
Thank you. That makes me feel great. Thanks for saying that.
No, I mean it. So yeah, thanks for being here and for taking the time to connect. And I know it's probably kind of random when you're like, hey, actually, do you want to join me on a podcast? And you're like, just so delightfully like, yes, sure.
Yeah, I think it's so cool. It was lovely to look after you guys as well. You were also nice and just like, it makes it a lot easier when people are open to having that experience kind of with me. I'm pretty good at massaging people into enjoying themselves, but it is helpful when like the group actually isn't there with the purpose to have a nice meal and have a nice time, and then it makes my job a lot easier. I really liked you, and I thought it was a really cool opportunity and something I've never been asked to do before. And I figured, why the heck not? Might as well say yes and give it a shot.
That's amazing. I'm so glad you did. Have you been in the serving world for a long time? Is that something?
No, actually, not really. Especially not just like serving. I've worked in hospitality since I was 14 years old, and I'm 35.
Wow.
So I've done it for a long time. There was about a 4 year period where I worked an office job. I got very fed up with the industry and went to do something else, and realized that working in an office was a way worse place to be for me in a bunch of different ways.
Yeah.
So left that, went back. But mostly I've cooked is been the driving factor of what I'm doing, I find.
Okay.
So I got a cooking job when I was 16 at Joey in Crowfoot up in Northwest Calgary. I was there for about 4 years. After that, at the same time, I guess, actually went to cooking school at SAIT, got a degree in
Amazing.
like culinary arts. My main motivation for going into cooking, though, was that even when I was like 16 years old, I just loved hospitality, had a lot
Mm.
of interest in moving into, like, whether it be something that I did on my own or going to work somewhere in a hospitality role. But I knew that the hospitality management program would probably not be the right fit for me.
Yeah.
I have a really easy time with people. I always have. And I'd also found at that point that a lot of businesses, if I were to go and work somewhere, it's dependent business to business on how they want things to be done. The
Right.
hardest thing to me about moving into hospitality seemed to be cooking and learning how to do that. And I saw
Okay.
it as it could be a real advantage for me to know how to cook, to have a background and an understanding and a level of comfort with cooking if I were to go ahead and do this. Because I just wanted to have sort of the most well rounded view of all of it, to understand both sides of it. Because I think even in the first like couple years where I was at this job as a teenager, I realized very quickly that there was very easily a lack of understanding between, say, kitchen and dining room as to
Mm.
what they both do and the important value that they both bring to everything and the quality of it and the understanding of it.
Yeah.
And cooking is very hard and often still to this day not
Mm.
rewarded in the way that it should be.
Right.
So I don't know. I felt like that was the way to go, and I ended up cooking for quite some time because of it. It's only been very recently that I moved into bartending and serving after deciding to leave a position at Major Tom as the executive sous chef there. So
Wow.
yeah, yeah, and I would say that's actually probably the answer to your question that drives this. I thought about it. I've had fortunately and unfortunately a lot of moments in my life where everything changed. I've experienced a lot of death, a lot of trauma, abuse, all of those kinds of things. But I think the thing that I would like to talk about is this moment in my life, because it's
Mm.
probably one of the more positive ones and was definitely something that was self-driven. Like, it was my choice to make everything change in my life, and it came with a lot of contemplation and a lot of definitely like an upset stomach about whether or not it was the right decision for me to
Yes.
make, because things were going well, but I just came to a realization finally that I had to kind of risk it to try and do something different.
Hmm. Wow. So
So yeah,
that's
yeah,
amazing. So maybe you can take us back a little bit as to explaining kind of where you were in the transition you had and what was kind of the driving force when you're talking about like your stomach turning and feeling like, oh my goodness, I completely identify with that. I know there are so many
yeah,
times in my life, like you said, there are so many moments in life where you're like, wow, that really
yeah,
changed who I am. That really changed my life. That really changed the trajectory where I was going. So it's kind of hard to like pick one. So I love that you have one in mind that's like current where you're living at this moment. So if you can take us a little bit about back to that, where all of that started to change and the journey of that for you.
yeah. I worked in the culinary field in a bunch of different ways. I was like a sous chef by the time I was 19. I ended up working after that for Crave Cupcakes as a pastry chef and a store manager, and did a little foray into an office job. At which point I was out in Toronto.
Okay.
I lived out there I grew up here, moved out to Toronto when I was about 25, lived there for about 7 years. I was with a partner at the time who was fairly manipulative and decently abusive, unfortunately. And eventually I was able to kind of like extricate myself from that situation, both from like fortitude of my own will, and I got into a place there where I had like a good group of friends and some really excellent people who looked at me and said like, you need to go home, like you need to
Mm.
get yourself out of this. Because I could have gotten myself out of it there, but it would have meant kind of giving up like everything I had there anyways. So it
Mm-hmm.
felt a lot better to move home because I have family here, I have friends here. I'm lucky enough to have friends here that I've had since I was like 13 years old, which is
Wow.
pretty cool.
Yeah,
So
it's so cool.
yeah, and so I moved home and moved in with my parents. Actually, I just moved out into my own apartment that I'm in right now in November. And before that, I was living with them in their basement for like 3 years at the age of like 32. But my mom was really good. Like it was necessary. It gave me sort of a safe landing place, safe space to be. Uh, when I moved back here, my best friend, one of these people that I've known since I was 13, had begun working at Major Tom, which was like a pretty big foray for um, Calgary in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
It's definitely like the highest like level of quality and quantity of food I've ever been asked to participate in the production of, and it's a huge bar program and a beautiful room, and it's intended to be quite a few things all at once. And it was really cool. He brought me there. He took me for a tour of it. He is now the bar manager of Major Tom, and I just thought it was a really great place to be. So when I got back here, I took about a month of rest, which was probably not enough in hindsight, but
Yeah.
it was good enough until I started to get the itch to need to get out of the house. And I took a job there. The head chef at the time, a man named Garrett Rotel, was also someone that I actually went to junior high school with as well.
Uh-huh.
So this old friend of mine, him and I had all known each other since we were like pretty young.
Wow.
And whether or not we'd kind of remained friends over the years, you know these people from such a young age that you just kind of you know them, and
Yeah.
it's neat to work
Yeah.
with someone.
Totally.
So yeah, so he interviewed me, and I distinctly remember him saying to me like he looks at me and he's like, we're not hiring into management right now. And I was like, I don't want to be hired into like I'm in no place to come into management anywhere, let alone at a level like this. Like I
Yeah.
was fully self-aware of that and very much like I don't want to be doing that either. I need to kind of ease myself back into the pool.
Yeah.
And he said, okay, that's great. He says, he's like, how do you feel about cooking Wagyu? Because they have like very high end Japanese meat on the menu there. And I said, I've never done it before, but I'm sure I can figure it out. So
Yeah.
that's kind of how I got started there. And I worked my way. I was a grill cook there for a while. Worked on the entremet station, which prepares like vegetables, sides, sauces, all that kind of thing. Very high volume, very intense kitchen, and one of like the wildest things that I've ever experienced in my life for sure.
Wow.
And I got to work among just some really great people. I worked with a chef by the name of Ivan Blackwell. He is from Manchester via Australia, like just this crazy, like kind of traveling chef. And he was probably one of the first people in a very long time that I worked with very closely who really respected me, even though I didn't know what I was doing. And he taught, like, or it felt that way at least. He taught me a lot of things on the job and was a really big influence on me and finding my footing after being in such a bad place before I got here. Like just an incredibly supportive human that was willing to work with me and willing to really kind of make me feel safe at work and around other people in a way that I hadn't experienced in a really, really long time. And it happened very quickly too, which was great.
That's
There was
amazing.
no sort of like prove yourself portion of it. So
Hmm.
it was great. I very quickly kind of became addicted to that situation that entire time there. I really enjoyed myself. I worked in that kitchen for a while, had some other opportunities come up within Concord Entertainment, pursued them for a minute or two, but kind of just decided that Major Tom was the place for me. And I think I knew that even when I went to see, I worked at another venue, and I think I knew before I even went there that my heart was just with Major Tom. I just loved it. I loved the challenge of it, the people I worked with, the culture, everything. It was just a place for me. Went back, became a sous chef there, then eventually became the executive sous chef, so directly under the chef. And,
Okay.
it's an intense job. You have, in an ideal world, when everybody's properly staffed, you have about 5 sous chefs underneath you, anywhere from 6 to 8 chef de parties, or which are like supervisors in the kitchen, and then anywhere from say 30 to 40 cooks and dishwashers and all of that under you as well. And that's just in the back of house.
Wow.
So yeah, it's
Wow.
it's intense, but I loved it. I love the people. I love the speed, the pace, all of it, the challenge of it every single day of the week. especially with it being open for lunches Monday to Friday and
Wow.
like an earlier start on the weekends. It was great. I
It's
loved it
intense. I have
so
to
much.
ask you, so have you ever
Yeah.
watched The Bear?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so for somebody who's never worked in a kitchen and knows
Yeah.
little about cooking,
Yeah.
is there any element of chaos or even structure to a kitchen that it resembles that for those who haven't
I
seen a
would
bit?
say, like, honestly, it's a little terrifying to say, but I would say that show, I personally cannot watch more than 2 episodes of it in a row
Yeah.
because it is so accurate in so many
Really?
ways. Yeah, I find it incredibly, incredibly accurate. How the stress is portrayed, how just the fact that you're usually in this crew of people that come from some really wild and different backgrounds and
Mhm.
usually quite a bit of trauma and all those kinds of things. My personal thought on it is that I think why this career attracts so many people that have had like a lot of challenges in their life
Yeah.
before entering into it is because you get used to this like level of chaos.
Mm.
And I think in order to survive a lot of trauma in your life, you kind of have to embrace that to a certain way. You kind of have to enjoy the feeling of it. And I think it gets a lot of us into this where it's like, okay, I get to enjoy this feeling, but it's like, this is a positive thing to do in the
Right.
end. Like, we're working towards something good. And as long as you can keep that in check and you can keep that front of mind, it can be a really fun experience for you. I wouldn't say that I understood that my entire career. I would say that's
Mm.
something I definitely understood more recently about it. But it's like these really awful things I've been through gave me like a skill set of soft skills or emotional capabilities
Mm.
that actually really assist in my success in this environment. So,
Wow.
and if, I can't change a lot of that trauma, so I can at least use it to do something with my life that I enjoy.
That's
Yeah.
wild. I can't even
Yeah.
imagine being in that. When I watch that show, it's the anxiety that you just feel for the characters. And you're just like, oh, this is
Yes.
so much pressure.
Yeah.
And like you can feel their outside world and their world inside of the the restaurant. It just feels like I'm the same way as you. Like I just watch it and I'm just like I'm almost like internally shaking, like, oh
Oh
my
yeah.
gosh, this is so
Oh yeah.
stressful.
Oh yeah. It's so stressful and it's so emotional and it's yeah, I find it to be, I find they've done a really good job of portraying like a lot of things that you go
Accurate.
through if you've worked in like a varying different kinds of restaurants. It doesn't have to
Yeah.
be Michelin starred even. Like you'll find those kinds of themes and tropes of that anxiety and that stress and pressure and some places that you wouldn't even think that they would show up. And it's
Hmm.
just a matter of embracing it and making it a part of the fun, I think. But
Right.
holy shit, is it still really fucking stressful. I'm not going to deny that at all. Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
how you kind of put it where you're like, well, my life has had, you know, chaos and trauma and these things, and it's kind of in a way that it's prepared you for an environment like that, but it's for the betterment of like people's enjoyment, right? So it's like
Yes,
holding that
exactly.
as a value in your mind and remembering, oh, this is actually this kind of chaos is actually for something really beautiful, for an experience for somebody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Wow.
so yeah, yeah, no, it is. It's unfortunately very accurate.
It is. Hang tight. We'll be back after this short break. Season 2 is finally here. When I first started the Naked podcast, I honestly had no idea where it would lead us. I just knew that honest conversations really do matter. Somewhere along the line, I realized that the best parts often happen after we stop recording, the quieter moments, the ones you don't plan for. So this season, I'm inviting my guests to stay a little longer for those conversations. I am so excited to share that the Naked podcast now has a Patreon, a space with extended episodes, written versions of my solo pieces, and a few of the things I am building just for you. If this show has moved you, made you feel seen, or just kept you company, I'd love for you to join me there. All the details are in the show notes, just a little invitation to stay a bit longer. As we take this short break, think about someone who might need this story in their ears today and pass it on. Now, let's get back into it.
That's a good question. I've been asked that by a couple people at this point in time.
Yeah.
And my cook friends that I work with, there's like only ever been, honestly, there's only one person that I've ever been in a discussion with about this that said that they think it's ridiculous. And I don't think I would call their review of it completely valid. Anyone that I've worked with that I know works has worked a lot on a line or has been incredibly responsible for a kitchen in some way, or just spent a lot of time in the kitchen, uh, would agree with me, like that
Hmm.
I've spoken to for
Yeah.
sure. And especially, I work around quite a few people that are younger than me, and they still feel very similar to that as well.
Yeah.
And I like a show like that as well because it shows some of the more negative behaviors and systems that have just been like an understanding base level of how it works in a kitchen, that
Yeah.
whole what happens in service stays in service, that kind of thing, which for me, when I was at Major Tom and moving up, I made a very conscious and significant decision to not handle the people that worked for me that way, because
Hmm.
I think it's personally, I think it's quite a lazy way to approach how you manage your team as a chef or anything. You shouldn't just be able to blow your top, lose your cool, and be an asshole and just say, oh, well, it happened during service. It's nothing personal. It
Right.
doesn't. It doesn't just stay in service. People take that home with them and they show up the next day knowing that it could happen again. And I think that it's lazy on the part of someone in management to just be like, oh, I don't need to check myself on this. I just express how I feel and people should just fall in line.
Hmm.
And I think it's good to show that in that show because it does a really good job of displaying how destructive it is
Right.
and how unnecessary it is to get performance out of yourself and other people. You don't need to treat yourself like garbage. You need to work hard. You
Yeah.
need to play as a team. There's a lot of like very black and white things that have to be done, but being an asshole is not one of them. No matter how stressed out you are. Like, and it happens to all of us, but you better apologize. You better apologize immediately, and you better try to not do it again, in my opinion. And I had really good success with the people that worked for me by approaching things that way, by respecting them as humans. And I think when you have a team as large as what I had at Major Tom, um, not everybody is passionate about being a chef.
Hmm.
There are some people that are there to work and they like to work hard and they love food, but they don't desire to move up into that role.
Right.
And you need those people to show up to work every day. And to do that, you need to give them an environment that they want to be in every day, even if it's not their passion that they get to spend their time on while they're
Hmm.
there for 8, 10, 12 hours.
Right. Because you're setting the
Yeah.
tone as a chef. You're setting the tone for that.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. And I think I think some chefs are possibly so beaten down themselves that they don't realize how much their presence
Hmm.
affects everything in the kitchen, that they forget that they can really sort of blow the tide in whatever direction they want.
Hmm.
And I've had a few chefs where I've expressed to them, like, this was not fun, this was upsetting, and like, I don't like how you spoke to me, or I think how you spoke to the team was not okay. And they're kind of shocked to hear that.
Hmm.
Where I think some of them think so lowly of themselves, they don't realize that no, you have had like a huge impact and it's
Right.
not a good one. Like if you spend your words well, you'll
Yeah.
have a huge impact in a really positive way.
Yeah.
And I think that it can be quite the circle of destruction sometimes if you don't tend to take a step back, realize that, and also like think well of yourself and be like, I actually do a lot here and I need
Mm-hmm.
to watch what I do, because it can really hurt and upset some people.
Yeah.
So
Really
yeah.
impact people. Yeah. I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
that's a good thing
exactly.
to think about in any role that you're in when you're in leadership, whether it's like a parental role or you're like in a corporation of any kind, or you're leading a team of people and you're like have a cleaning company or whatever it is. That it's just so,
Yeah.
yeah, it's amazing to think about the impact that we have on people, especially when you're of like this, the one that people are looking to for leadership. For the parent,
Exactly.
we have 4 kids, and I've many times thought about that. Just as a child, I'm sure we can all remember coming home and you can tell when mom is upset, and mom doesn't
Yeah.
even have to say anything. You're just like, I can feel
No.
it. I'm going to my room.
Yeah.
I'm closing the
Yeah,
door.
yeah.
You're like, I'm just gonna
Exactly.
stay
Yeah.
out of the line of fire.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's just so interesting how as you go into life, you don't sometimes realize the younger version of yourself and how you felt in those instances, even in school. I remember like when a teacher's really upset and you're like, oh God, like how's this day gonna go?
Yeah. Oh
Because she's
yeah.
having a bad day. We're all gonna be in the receiving end of that. Just
Yeah.
realizing the power you have to either like empower people in a really positive way or completely disempower them in a very negative way. Um,
Exactly.
yeah, it sounds like
Yeah.
you really figured that out in your line of work and that you're very aware of it. I'm sure people that are under you have greatly appreciated your leadership, just being that
I've
aware.
I've really tried. I've definitely like I've messed up a few times for sure, especially when I was younger. Because it, like I said, it was in all the scheme of my career like a fairly recent decision, and there was definitely one time in the latter portion of it where I, yelled at someone on the line, and then we went into the office and yelled at each other and apologized, but then everything was fine after and we
Hmm.
got over it and it was all okay. But it was definitely a moment of me having to look at myself and be like, why is this happening? Like, why am I losing my temper? Why am I allowing myself to do something that I take a lot of pride in trying not to do or be, and really thinking through how I got there to prevent it from happening again? Because it's
Mm.
usually not just as simple as I feel like I want to yell at somebody. There's usually quite a few other things that have gone on before to get me to that point, right?
Right. It's not the one at the
So yeah.
very end. It's like all the little micro moments up until that point.
Exactly. And then before you know it, you're swearing at somebody in front of the entire team. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Oh wow. Okay, so sorry for derailing you in the middle of all of that, what you were
No,
talking about.
it's
Um, yeah, just like being a Major Tom and the things that you've learned there. And
yeah.
so at that point, it sounds like things have really changed, recently changed for you.
Yeah. So I got the opportunity to work, like I said, with Garrett Rotel, and then they also brought on a chef by the name of Josh Morin from Toronto, who had actually worked for Maddie Matheson out at Prime Seafood Palace, and
Mhm.
I was his executive sous chef for the time that I was at Major Tom. And one of the coolest things that happened in this position is that Josh and I had a very good working relationship, like probably one of the best ones I've ever experienced in any job I've ever done. Um, and he just really trusted me. He trusted me in my role. He trusted me within the realm of that kitchen because I knew it a lot better than him when he was brought
Mm.
on. He trusted me as a competent human being and chef. And it's one of the first times in my life at any job where I've had that happen to me and had it come from someone who I also respected quite quickly. Just very creative, very skilled, had a lot of experience. Um, so to be in that position was very new to me. And I think it removed a lot of things that I'd been experiencing before, which is just sort of this never ending need to prove myself, which
Mm.
kind of stops you from thinking about whether or not you are doing what you like.
Right.
And I think it's very common in like the kitchen world. I think it's common in quite a few careers that where there's like a lot of competition, where there's a lot of intensity, it's a lot of you do get hung up on just wanting people to respect you for your work and your actions,
Hmm.
and it can really run away on you if you don't have it on your head on your shoulders straight about whether or not you actually want to be doing this.
Right.
And working under him removed any of that.
Wow.
He just trusted me. We worked as a team. It was a really nice environment to be in. And the sous chefs that I had underneath me at that time, some of them had been my sous chef before I moved into being their boss. Same thing. Like
Mm.
they trusted me, they appreciated me, they worked with me. There was no drama. There was no, it was very much just like a team environment. Now
That's
we're all
awesome.
working very hard and we're all very stressed out. And there was plenty of bumps in the road and lots of like outside pressures, from regional chefs. And there's challenges presented to you with just the level of business we're doing and, event seasons and all those things. Like it wasn't easy, but there was this removal of any sort of bureaucratic nonsense or someone just doubting me because they don't like how much I swear, or I've
Right.
obviously been doing this for long enough and I'm old enough that like there's no it's because you're a woman in
Mm.
either positive or negative ways that how that all kind of gets viewed. um yeah, it was really great. It was a really wonderful experience, and I worked under him in my position. I think it was realistically for less than a year by the time I actually left Major Tom, but it was very impactful, and it was being around him and in that environment and even around like Chef Rotel and all these things that I realized I needed to really think about if I wanted to continue moving forward, because I knew both because it had been discussed with me and just because that would be the progression, and because I knew I knew within myself for once in my life that I was
Mm.
performing well enough that it would make sense for me to continue to move up, to move into a head chef role, and to continue down this road. Um, but I realized I'm like, I'm around these chefs, even like some of the cooks and chefs underneath me. They love what they're doing. They love it. They love creating food. They love being in the kitchen. That's like their thing. That's what they do in this industry.
Right.
And I realized that that is not my thing, because when I watch them just get lost in the work,
Mm.
I don't get lost in the work. I loved Major Tom because of the logistics of the kitchen. I really like working with people. I like making people happy. And I think that if I hadn't had to look after so many people there, I might have gotten to this like thought process a little quicker in a
Mm.
lot of ways, because it was serving and all that is looking after people and making them happy, and running a large team is exactly the same. It
Right.
is customer service towards your employees. Make them happy. How do we make this a good place for you to be? How do we make you happy within the realm that I'm allowed to pay you, and hours and all that kind of thing? I realized I loved that part of it,
Yeah.
but to continue on in this path, I knew that there would become like an ask to create.
Yeah.
And I know how to cook, and I'm pretty damn good at it. And if you ask me to make something, I can make it very, very well for you. But to come up with things on my own and to be really passionate about that aspect,
Right.
I knew very clearly at that point in time that that was not for me. So I actually, just to be absolutely certain, I actually took myself on a trip by myself. I went to Dublin last February for like 11 nights by myself. I had always wanted to go there. Um, my dad's side of the family was all Irish Catholic, and all of them are out of my life basically. A lot of alcoholism, a lot of really bad,
Mm.
a lot of the bad side of that culture was all I had ever really seen. And I wanted to go to Ireland and see it for something different. And I wanted to go by myself. So I went. I went for. I was there for the anniversary of my dad's death. Well, just because I wanted to kind of tie it together, just to really think about it, because a lot of my father's struggles in life, I think, stemmed from the fact that he had not tried to do what he wanted and had just tried to do what he thought was right
Mm.
by everybody from his own parents to my mom to me. And I think it made his alcoholism and his struggles with it a lot worse, because he's coming from a generation where we don't go to therapy, we don't talk about these things, we don't do anything, we just keep going and we cope.
Yeah.
And for him, coping was alcohol.
Mm.
So I wanted to go and just kind of like, I don't know, be by myself, be in a place where I could see a culture and a side of things that wasn't only the negative aspect of that community, because his mom had been an incredibly heavy drinker, and it was what had made, like, eventually killed her. His dad was not that far behind that. It just kind of was a lot, and I wanted to go and see it for something different, and I wanted to be by myself
Mm.
to really think things through. And I went there and I journaled every single day, and like just really, essentially talked out through words on paper what I was feeling and what I was thinking. And when I woke up in the morning, was I inspired by food? And I went to a Michelin starred restaurant there, and I went and ate some really great food there and did all these things. And I went to a bunch of art museums and art galleries, because basically the decision I was teetering on is, if I leave cooking, I still want to be in hospitality, and I think I will work in it to some extent for the rest of my life. I don't know exactly in what way at this point, because I love what I'm doing right now a lot more than I think I expected to.
Mm.
But I also would like to pursue some like artistic pursuits. It was something I'd wanted to do for a long time, something I looked at very heavily when I was in Toronto about going to school. Like, I really like painting with acrylics, and I really like drawing. But I needed to give myself the time and space to do it. I could not do that when I was in Toronto. I was very broke and in a very, very bad place. And then I moved back here and I took this job in a kitchen, and I just wanted to give myself the space to really think about these things. I went to a lot of museums there. I saw a lot of really cool things about a culture that I'd always wanted to understand better and see more of, and that I feel some connection, however far removed, to as well. And I just wanted some time where I didn't have to wake up and be on anyone else's schedule. I didn't have to talk to anyone. I didn't have to do anything any day if
Yeah.
I didn't want to. So yeah, I went there and yeah, journaled every day, really thought it through. And there's a lot of things I do feel like I did the proper like emotional and thinking through process of it. But one ironic thing that happened was I actually got food poisoning there to an extent that I have never experienced
Oh
before in my
no.
life. And it was like I'd gone there, I'm like, I'm gonna eat this food, and maybe it's just like I'm not feeling passion towards culinary because I'm, really burnt out or just really tired. And I'm gonna spend this time, I'm gonna go to museums and I'm gonna see what I like better. And this really awful, bizarre kind of like sign was the fact that I got very bad food poisoning while I was there.
Oh
And I
no.
think for like 3 or 4 out of the days, all I could bring myself to eat was like saltines and packaged ramen noodles. And I'm like, well, this feels like a really interesting sign. So maybe like
Yeah.
I can't actually get to it myself through the process of
Oh.
exploring my own emotions and all that. This is like kind of a sign that maybe the direction I should go is away from staying in the kitchen. And that is what I had always wanted to do when I was younger and all that kind of thing. It was just not very easy to move into that role in Calgary at that point in time, I would say. I would say when I was much younger, especially with working at a place like Joey, and especially at that time, I am not 120 pounds, really slim and really tiny and cutesy and all these things. And there was at that time, and I think Calgary sometimes still suffers a bit from like, if you're going to work in the front of house, you need to look a certain way. And Joey at the time when I was like 16 to 21 years old actually had like I can't even think of the right word, but they had a standard by which their servers were supposed to look. So if you were a certain weight, or if you weren't, if you didn't look a certain way, they would not even consider hiring you into that role. And while I do understand and feel like cleanliness and, making yourself look nice and all of those kinds of things is a part of serving people, you need to look professional, you need to be clean, you need to, all of those kinds of things. You need to take pride in your appearance because it's part of your performance. To have limitations set on that based on like weight and specifics and looks was like incredibly upsetting as a young person, and it made it very hard to ever move into front of house for me. I think it was both a mental obstacle for me, as well as like legitimately I could not actually, in a restaurant that I had managed to be a sous chef in, I couldn't even be hired as a host because I didn't look right.
Wow.
So yeah, so I don't know, it was a really big thing for me to make this
Yeah.
decision and to actually get there and to actually be hired and working at a place that I absolutely love, because I got to a certain point where I did not think that was ever really going to happen for me, so it's been awesome. It's been really good. And I came back from Dublin. I gave essentially 5 months of notice to Major Tom, because it's like, I'm not leaving because I hate this restaurant. I'm not leaving because I'm upset. I'm not leaving anything like that. I'm leaving because I know my heart is just not in this, and I want to give you guys enough time to figure out how to make this work without me. And Pigeonhole is the same part of the same company and everything like that, and I wanted the opportunity to be able to work there, so I definitely didn't want to burn any bridges.
Right.
I wanted it to be a positive transition. I wanted it to really be a good thing for everybody involved, as much as it can be, considering they were going to lose me no matter what.
Right.
So yeah, and it was good. I worked I think I got a bit of I will say it's nice to have known at that point in time Chef Rotel was a regional chef, and I know that he knew that I wouldn't bail on them. He knew that although I had decided that I needed to move on, I wasn't going to start doing a bad job. I wasn't going to fuck off in them, like literally, or like in the job day to day.
Right.
So that was really good. I didn't have to prove that to anybody. There wasn't someone there kind of going like, let's just get her out of here. If she doesn't want to be here, let's get her gone. Like there was an understanding of my intention and why I was leaving. And that part of it was in both an awful and a great way, because of the support and because of how good I felt being in that environment, that I was able to come to this decision. So yeah, left there. I left during Stampede Week at the end of like our last big party that we had going on, because I hadn't really been to Stampede in any fun way other than maybe one night since I'd moved back from Toronto, which means I hadn't really been in like 10 years. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not like a big cowboy girl, but I did work there. It was probably my first job in hospitality and I do love it and I just wanted to go. So took like the final weekend of Stampede Week off, and a week after that I started working at Pigeonhole, where they trained me as a bartender and a server. And I've been there ever since. And it's led to some really positive things in my life. I just feel like I'm doing what I want to do.
Mm.
And I feel like I still get that chaos and that pressure and the fun out of it. And now I feel like there's room in my life to pursue other passions. But it's also been really brilliant to be there because I love it. And I love it in a way that I could never have totally seen coming. So sorry, I have a cat and she's just on the other side of my iPad.
She wants to join
Yeah.
us.
Yeah. You can't sit right there. No, I'm so sorry. Okay.
She's joining the party.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
So it's been really nice. And it was a big moment for me. And it was one of the more positive things that I've ever gone through in my life. And it wasn't driven by anything else, which is a first. Honestly, like when I really look back at it, it was kind of a first. Many of the major life-changing moments for me have come not from a good place. They've come from a need to get away from a bad situation, or they've come because a bad situation has happened.
Right.
And this is one of the first really positive things I've done. So, yeah.
That's a good feeling, hey? When you're like,
Yeah.
you know that something is coming. I think it can be really hard to close chapters, especially when it feels like we are with people that we love. It sounds like you're with a great team. You had a great, like people you're working with, people that were mentoring you that just validated you and you felt seen and you
Yes.
felt like you were enough in that space and that you brought something amazing to the team. It can be really hard to trust that knowing part of ourselves where it's like, okay, this I do need to make a transition. This I do need to change, but how? you know?
Yeah.
And when you stay there for so long, that's where it can get really muddy. And I think that's where it can get really like, how do I do this transition well? And you don't want to let people down. And so you stay. A lot of times we outstay like that amount that
Yeah.
beyond that time, but then things do end really crappy. Like it's like
Exactly.
this could have been so good, like you did, but trusting yourself, trusting your no, or like trusting your inner voice, being like, this isn't
Yeah.
really what I want to
Yeah.
do. And
Exactly.
even though you have all this validation, allowing yourself to go, but I feel like there's something more and different for me. And actually
Yeah.
trusting that, which is such
Yeah.
a beautiful thing. And I think a lot of us spend our life trying to get there. And then we're so late in life, we're like, man, I wish I would have trusted myself. But that's one thing I always like try to say with my kids, like trust that voice, trust it.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
Yeah.
noise. A lot of times people, if you ask people's opinions, just listening to a podcast with Mel Robbins, and she was talking about how a lot of times we ask people's opinion and it creates so much noise in our heads because we can't trust ourselves. It's like
Yes.
ourself knew all along, and we're looking for people to
Exactly.
validate that,
Yeah.
and we go looking for all of these outside opinions, which just creates so much chaos in our heads because
Yes.
everyone's going to give their different opinion based on their viewpoint. When really, like,
Yes.
you probably already know.
Yeah. And that's why like I made the effort to like go away. I needed a vacation. I had vacation days and I'm like, I need to go away. I need to think this through and I need to be alone. And I need to ideally like we're talking like a decent time change too.
Yeah.
So my
Yeah.
day is starting and forming a lot different than everyone. And like I love my mom very much and she's very, very proud of me about everything I do, no matter what. To the point that sometimes it's a little hard for me to figure out if I really like what I'm doing because she's
Mhm.
just so proud that I'm doing it, essentially.
Yeah.
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 Okay. Just an absolute troublemaker here. Sorry.
Don't be. It's all
I
good.
asked her to be quiet and leave me alone, but it wasn't really an option. She didn't really listen. And I'm not in a very big apartment. There's no other room. If I shut a door, she would probably just meow and scratch at it anyways. So, yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah.
That is incredible. And I'm so proud of you for listening
Thank
to
you.
yourself and for you to be in a place. Now, it's one thing you were talking about being in Dublin and like trying delicious food and then going to these arts. I was like, I could just
Yeah.
hear it in your voice. Like, there's another part of me that I want to access. And that was what I was wondering if you leaving Major Tom's now allowed for space for you to be creative, for you to kind of tap into these other parts of you, because I can only imagine that being a, an executive sous chef at Raider Tom's and then your job at Pigeonhole, they're just very different, um, have different roles and different expectations and things like that. That
Yeah.
maybe, um, yeah, like that. Just that maybe it allows for you to find different things that you love and creating space for that.
It does. It's been fantastic, honestly. I Pigeonhole's in a really cool place within sort of like Concord Entertainment where we don't have a ton of corporate oversight, so we get to create cocktails on our menu, and that was like one
Oh,
of the biggest things when I was interviewed. I expressed like I'm leaving the culinary side of things because I'm not passionate about creating in that world anymore.
yeah.
And they're like, oh well, we're going to be asking you to create in this. Is that going to be okay? I said, well, yes. I was like, I've never tried to make cocktails before. You're a different team than who I'm creating for in the kitchen right now. Like, I'm sure all of those things are going to play together in a way that will really be a positive thing for me.
Mm.
And so I've gotten the opportunity to do that. And then also the Pigeonhole's connected to Model Milk next door.
Okay.
And I worked some shifts there, especially over the event season. I was working like one event a week at a certain point, and the general manager there has actually been just insanely supportive. She got me
Mm.
to paint the door that leads up to Model Citizen, which is their private event space. She actually
Oh.
paid me money for it. She liked what I had drawn in chalk, and she's like, I want you to paint it permanently on the door, which I thought was insane because
Yeah.
she'll always be the first person that paid me for any kind of art. And
Yeah.
she's asked me to draw and create some stickers. And now that my life is kind of settled down and I'm not working so much and I've settled into my apartment and all these kinds of things, I will actually get the opportunity to do all of that kind of thing. And
Wow.
my apartment, it's taken me a really long time to get settled into it because this is the first time I've lived completely on my own. And I think I've just taken the time to savor figuring out where I want everything to be.
Yeah.
And the last piece that I really have to sort out and work on is like essentially my studio and like where I'll paint and everything like that. And once I have that, then I've got the space for it, both in my life as well as literally in my home, because I didn't really have that at my parents.
Yeah.
I lived in a room in the basement. There wasn't the space for me to do that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
It's so amazing when you just follow the lead and then you see all these things come together. Like this one friend said to me, as we allow one door to close, other ones will open. And sometimes those other ones we wouldn't even have walked through if we wouldn't have allowed the other one to close. And I think like,
So accurate.
right,
Yeah.
like creating space for
Yeah.
yourself to create that you wouldn't have had that element. You wouldn't have had your first painting that you were paid for, because you would have been taken up with so many other things, but it's allowed this other
Yeah.
part of you to kind of bloom, which is
Yeah.
so beautiful.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow. What's
Yeah.
like the one thing you felt like you learned the most in this transition based on, like you said, past experiences,
Mm.
the transition of the time when everything changed, came from a different place and came in a different way? What is something you would take from this?
It's a really good question. And I don't think that's something sorry, I'm covered in cat hair because this thing is just
So
going to
cute,
destroy.
though.
Yeah. Um, you know what? And I think that honestly, I think I need to keep this a little bit more front of mind. I think the number one thing that I've learned, and you've said it a couple times already, is that I just need to like listen to that voice. I just need to trust it a bit more, because I'm a big one for like, if I'm gonna buy, say, some lights for my kitchen, I spend like hours researching it, making sure, looking for a deal, trying to figure out, like, I put like a lot of thought into things.
Yeah.
And that's a really good thing to do. And I do that about almost everything in my life. And I think I need to trust myself in that way a bit more, because when it comes to larger decisions in my life about jobs or partners or, like moving, those kinds of things, I think I've either not listened to it at all,
Yeah.
or listened to it to the point that it's like, oh, like it's too much. Like I don't trust it anymore, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, where I just get myself into a circle of like overthinking about it.
Right.
Or I just ignore it completely because I'm too scared to face the fact that when I listen to that voice, it's probably going to tell me like, this isn't for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you kind of know that. And I've made that with my last partner that I was with. Like, that's what I did there. I
Hmm.
knew, I think, long before it got really bad that it was a bad decision. And it
Yeah.
took time for me to really get to a point where I knew it was bad. And
Mm.
I remember in that situation going to a social worker in Toronto and realizing that I was going to see someone to have them tell me that I was in an abusive relationship. And I realized as I was sitting in the office being like, you already know, you don't need somebody to tell you this. You already know that this is going on.
Right.
And you need to trust this, and you've known it's going on for a while and you've just been trying to ignore it because it feels too mean to admit that, or it feels too dark to really realize that that's what's going on.
Right.
And yeah, and I think I would say that's probably the biggest thing that I've learned,
Hmm.
because once I embraced that and once I stepped into doing what I wanted to do, like, even without taking huge amounts of time to create and really pursuing that side, everything else about my life has gotten substantially, I don't want to say better because it wasn't bad before,
Right.
but it's more in line with what I've always wanted.
Wow.
And just because I took that leap, like, I really, really jumped in a lot of ways for me.
Yeah.
There's a lot of me that it was really hard for me to tell my mom, who was very proud of me for being exec sous and like all these kinds of things, to be like, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to go be a bartender and, make minimum wage plus tips. And I don't want to do the thing that might allow me to buy a house or a condo or anything in like a couple of years. I want to go and do this so that I can actually do what I want with my life. And I do think a lot of that again is driven by some reflection on like my father never doing that, and
Right.
how that really negatively impacted his life overall, realistically ended up shortening it, I think, in a lot of ways.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Wow. It's amazing
Mhm.
when you're talking about the two different things that you kind of get stuck on. Both of them leave you quite paralyzed in the journey. It's
Yeah.
like I can't decide, but in not deciding, you're deciding, and it's just like,
Yeah.
it's yeah, it's interesting how we can feel so stuck because the noise in our heads can be so much louder than like
Yeah.
the whisper in our heart. You know?
Yeah. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, it's so true.
yeah,
And I it always feels akin to like, I spent a lot of time in pools growing up. I swam competitively and spent some time at like Lindsay Park, where they have like the dive tank and everything
oh
like
yeah,
that. And it really feels like not standing on like the highest diving board, but one where even if you fell off of it, you would be fine. But
yeah.
it feels really high when you're up there and you're like
Hmm.
stuck at the edge of it and your stomach is a disaster and you're looking down and you're just like, I I could fall off of this and I'm gonna be fine.
Yeah,
Why can't I take the intention to just jump?
yeah.
And that's kind of what making these decisions really felt like.
Hmm.
And especially with leaving Major Tom, it was incredibly bittersweet because I loved what I was doing.
Right.
For all intents and purposes, I really liked what my days looked like. I liked how much I was working and who I was working with and all of these really cool things I got to do. But it's just like, this moves forward and this is what it will look like when it moves forward. I don't want that for myself.
Hmm. Hmm. There's this um, there's this idea that came to me in my earlier years of life, about life and about how we're doing these amazing things. So, just to kind of tell you a little bit about my world where I came from, I used to be like my husband used to be pastor, and I used to volunteer a lot. Like I used to volunteer with like running girls group and running a mom tots group and singing on Sundays and organizing a choir and these things. And there were so many good things that were I was doing in my life that people are like, wow, how do you do all these things? And they quite applaud you and you feel quite like seen in those roles. And you're like, oh, this is like
Yeah.
quite great. But what I didn't see in that is that all of these good things were so good and everyone's applauding you to do those things. Like your mom, like you said, like, my gosh, you're doing these things. It's amazing. I'm so proud of you. Look what you're doing. You're a sous chef.
Yeah.
And what you don't realize is that those things can be an absolute shadow. The good can be a shadow to the great. And the great is like living your best life, like being
Yeah.
healthy mentally and emotionally and physically, like we're a place where you feel like you're thriving. Like you never imagined yourself to be able, I can have this space where I can have an art room, like all of these
Yeah.
amazing things that you're just like, oh, this is wild, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then to just to not know that, to not know what's beyond the good, because the good is so good and it can keep us all like just running, and doing
Yeah.
the things that we think, like you said, your dad, doing the things that everyone thinks that you should be doing. But in hindsight, you're missing out on the great. And
Yeah.
like, it's just wild when you trust that. It can be so scary. Like, I loved your picture of the stepping on the edge of the dive board. It feels like you're just sitting there and you can kind of feel yourself kind of wobbling, right? You're like,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know. Should I
Yeah.
jump? But then when you do, it's like, oh my goodness, it's okay. It's okay. And
Yeah.
not only is it okay, but I'm able to see this window of this amazing part of life that I never even knew I was possible.
Yeah.
And now you have that thing in it, and you
Yeah.
have that adventure that was just waiting for you to say yes to it, to just listen to your heart. And I think that is really hard to do. And I think most of us feel very can feel stuck, and it's like, no, I'm just going to run back on the dive board because I don't think I can jump
Yeah.
right now. Right,
Yeah.
walking into the
Oh yeah.
unknown feels extremely uh, scary and quite vulnerable. um,
Yes.
and we have done that a few times with
Yeah.
family, being like, yeah, we're going to sell our house and we're going to move, and then actually no, we're going to travel the world, we're going to take the whole
Yeah.
kids, and we don't know what we're doing. People are like, you're crazy. You're like, I don't know why, but this just feels like the next right thing, even if everybody else
Yeah.
thinks it's wildly crazy,
And then it's just a matter of like trusting it, like
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
trusting it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know what you mean by that, because like I'd put it like, you know, almost 2 decades of my life into this career. I was in a place where everyone really liked me. I felt very valued, very appreciated. Um, and I was just going to be like, I don't want this anymore. But I think that analogy of the like the good can be a shadow to the great, that's the moment that I was in, and that is often like one of the toughest things to see. And I've never been in that place before, because it's always been like, this is definitely bad and
Right.
I need to remove myself from it, or this is really bad and this is how I'm going to cope with it and move forward from it.
Right.
This is one of the first times where I left something that was truly very good to
Right.
go and hopefully do something that will be, to free up that space to do something that's going to be better.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you have. It sounds like you've already
Yeah.
kind of found that. You're like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I'm
Yeah.
having space to art and create, and like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
benefits of that, the benefits of creativity is
Yeah.
so amazing. I've just
Yeah.
been learning about the last couple of years about just how even creativity has the ability to remove anxiety to a degree,
Yeah.
and same vice versa. Like, anxiety has a ability to remove the creativity. And I think
Yeah.
all the creatives out there would know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
When you
Oh
feel
yeah.
your most creative, it's when you've alleviated, or there's been an alleviation from anxiety in your life.
Yeah.
And sometimes art is that therapy,
Oh yeah.
is that
100%.
medicine. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So,
I also too, like, it's one of the first times where I've ever been at peace with, I don't really know where this is going to go. Like, I don't know. I don't know what my next title is going to be. I don't know what things are going to look like in 5 years, and I'm not concerned about it. I think I've put
mm,
so much pressure on myself for so long about that. I performed very well academically, like all throughout, like grade school and all these kinds of things, and did really well in cooking school, and I've done a couple competitions, like culinary competitions, and they were all fun and they were all worth it. But also a lot of it came from this pressure of being like, I should be doing this, like
right.
I'm the honor student, I'm highly successful, I should be doing this. And this is one of the first times where it's just like, I don't know where it's going to go, and I don't
Right.
care, because I'm actually enjoying the journey, and I made a big decision and it's gone really well, and I can do that again if I need to.
Yeah. I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. Oh, then like peace, like, is the thing that you follow,
Yeah.
in life, where it's like you're not trying
Yeah.
to, it's like, I don't know why this just feels right. And it
Yeah.
just trusting it and not worrying it, like you said, not worrying about 5 years, because even if
Yeah.
you were at Major Tom's, you don't know what 5 years looks like down the road anyways
Nope.
there. Even though it
Exactly.
feels
Yeah.
concrete and stable and
Yeah.
all the things you were mentioning earlier, but it's like, but if it's not the right thing, and
Yeah.
you don't know why. And so it's to
No,
trust that
exactly.
and just
Exactly.
let that lead
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Wow. That is so amazing. I am honestly so excited for
Thanks.
you. I love that you,
It
I
was
think there's so
really
many,
cool to share this.
oh, it was so good to
Yeah.
hear it. I feel like there's
Yeah.
so many tidbits that we can all take from, your story and just the journey and just trusting yourself
Yeah.
and yeah, you never know what's on the other end of that. Um,
Yeah.
but you're doing it, and I'm just, who knows how it blossoms? Who knows? Like, I think sometimes you follow people's very bizarre journeys and stories. Like, I didn't ever like really plan on being an artist, or I didn't really plan on, being a writer. It's just like it was a thing that called me, and then all of a sudden it's like I had these opportunities open up,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. No, that's really cool to hear. And that makes me, hearing these kinds of things makes me feel better about what I've decided to do as well. So
yeah,
yeah.
no, that's amazing. Thank you for being here and for sharing something that's so fresh.
No problem. It was great. I've been thinking about it since you told me sort of the driving question. And I was like, what do we go with? Like, I have quite a few things. Like, I would say when my dad passed was a very huge moment for me, but it's like that just doesn't feel right. And if I decided this morning, I'm like, I want to go with a positive thing. Like, I want
Hmm.
to talk about this really positive thing and something that I was in control of every step of the way. You
Yeah.
know, like, although I don't know where it's going to go and I'm okay with it going, like, I intentionally made these decisions. So it's been really lovely to talk to you about
Hmm.
it. I've shared this story with quite a few people, but not to like sort of this depth or degree, and really talked it through in a lot of ways. So it was really cool to do this. I
Hmm.
really enjoyed it.
Oh, me too. I'm so
Yeah.
grateful we did. Before we leave, I want to ask one question. I always
Yeah.
ask my guests at the end is, what is bringing you joy in your life this week?
This week.
I mean, you can
Hmm.
go back further if you like.
Yeah, I don't know. I would say like I had like a really rough week like a couple weeks ago. It would have been my dad's 70th birthday. And not everyone hits me. Sometimes his birthday comes and goes. Like he passed away when I was 13, so he's been gone for a long time. Sometimes the day he died and his birthday passed and you don't even think about it. But this one hit me kind of hard, I think, because he would have been 70, which means that I am the age that he was when he had me as well. And I think it just inspired a lot of reflection, good and bad and neutral and all of those kinds of things. And it made for like a very tough week for me. Um, so last Monday, I kind of made the decision that like, okay, we're going to do a couple things that are going to help us feel better because I can't get myself out of this. So I went out for dinner with some friends. I went out for dinner with my very old friend Miles, and we got some noodles and like just sat and barely talked because that's what you get to do with really old friends. It's so nice. And then I booked a massage for myself, and I got a tattoo for myself, and I just had all of these really incredible human interactions. And I would say that that's probably what brings me a lot of joy, is that because I'm in this place where I'm doing what I want and it's positive and I feel good and I feel positive and I feel empowered in a lot of ways, I kind of bring more of that into my life.
Mm.
So I would say I think the thing that brings me a lot of joy is just like the people around me, both my
Yeah.
coworkers and friends, but also the strangers I get to interact with at my restaurant, because I'm at a place where people want to come and dine and have a good experience like you guys had when you had there. Like more likely than not, I'm serving a table of people that really want to be there and want to have a good time
Mm.
with Pigeonhole in all of its many like ways and access points kind of thing. So yeah, I would say like it's the people that I get to be surrounded by and the people that seem to just sort of naturally flow into my life now. I would say that that's what brings me joy.
Yeah.
Other than that, this ridiculous cat that I live with. So, which I didn't, it wasn't like fully intentional. I had a friend, well, I had like a person move away, and they had no home for their cat. And I was like, you know what? I'll take her on. She's not a kitten. It's going to be easy. And now I live with this other little creature who is just like so excited to see me all the time. And as you can tell, just
Aw.
wants to be
Yeah,
on my lap and in my space. And yeah,
totally.
so yeah, just all these living beings around me that I get to have in my
Hmm.
life. I would say that they bring me the most joy, to the
Yeah.
point sometimes that I have to curb how much I socialize, because I'm like, you need to go home and you need to do some laundry and you need to like, like you're having fun, but like go home and deal with some things. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Wow. That's
yeah,
amazing. It sounds like you got a lot of good people in your world. A lot of people in your
yeah.
good
I'm
friendships.
very lucky, and I'm very very lucky at this point in time. I did go through a very long period of time where I did not have many nice people in my life,
Hmm.
and I've had a few moments of that before in my life, but I think now it's almost like you attract what you are in a lot of ways, and
Totally.
I feel better about that as like in a way that I don't think I ever really have been before. Feel more
Mm,
confident about it and feel okay with being this person, and if you like me for it, great. If you don't, then just move on. Like, and I'll
that's
just
okay.
move on as well, and there's no hard feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. Well, I hope you have an amazing rest of your week and have some
Thank you.
incredible, incredible people come into the restaurant that just, yeah, that your joy is just filled right
Thank you.
up.
Thank you. Well,
uh,
I hope you have a great week as well. Thank you so much for asking me to do this. It was kind of confirmation of what I just said. It was cool. I
hmm.
really liked you, and I really like looking after yourself and your husband, the friends you were with, and I just felt so incredibly flattered, and but also very seen when you asked me to do this in a
Hmm.
way that was a huge surprise, like nothing I could have ever expected or hoped would happen. So,
Aw.
yeah.
Honestly, the delight is all mine. I just am just really grateful that you're here, and it was really, really lovely. I think that stories are so powerful, and we can take so
Yeah.
much from each other, and we can apply it to our life, whether it's something very different or it's something very much parallel to our journey. But I just think there's something we can take from each other's growth and experiences, and it's just nice to know in life that we're not alone,
Yeah.
in this journey. So I think that people will take there's like a lot I said, a lot of little tidbits I think people will take from your story and probably can identify. There's a mass majority that are going to be able to identify with what you're talking about, with trusting
Yeah.
yourself and listening to your heart beyond the absolute ups and downs in our stomachs that feel like everything is wrong, and just
Yeah.
trusting
Yeah.
trusting the peace. So yeah, thank you for being here, and I hope to come see you again before we leave, so that I can
Perfect.
give you a hug in
Please do.
person. Yes, I will.
That would be wonderful. Yeah.
Okay. Well, have an amazing rest of your day and take care. And until then, until next time I see you,
Sounds
thanks so
great.
much for being here. Take
Of
care.
course. Thank you, Janelle.
Okay. Bye
Thanks.
bye.
Bye.
I want to thank you so much for being here, for taking the time to listen to the Naked Podcast. It honestly means so much. If there's something in the episode that has moved you, share it with someone who might need to hear it too. And if you haven't already, give us a follow and leave a review. It helps so much to keep the momentum and keep the show growing. For more conversations, reflections, and ways to stay connected, check out the link in the show notes. Until next time. If you would like to connect with us or possibly share your story, please contact us at nakedwithjanelle@gmail.com. That's nakedwithjanelle@gmail.com. Thanks so much.